The rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Hallelujah, I'm able to get on. Shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. This morning, oh my goodness. You know, when you're getting close, everything starts messing up. Everything starts to mess up. And I had to come through. If you notice, there's like two broadcasts probably on out there. I apologize. That is, that was some of the things I was dealing with. And I said, Father, I said, oh, I can't have this thing go down. Now that it will be as we're getting so close to some different things going on in the background. And I had to think about and just give a I'd say a retrospective that when you start to move towards things, the Most High allows the enemy to mess with stuff. He does. And it's not to where we just faint and get weary and we say, oh, this is it. I'm done with that. Forget all that. I'm through with all that. Although we would like to do that. That's an easy one. It's actually your mindset has to change to where you see the problem. You knew the problem was going to something somehow because you get a spiritual, the Most High lets you know, he'll alert your spirit. You're about to have a trial here. You're about to have a test there. You may even have a test that you have been notified of months before, weeks before. And you just have to go through, sit through, walk through, and praise your way through it. These are a lot of the things that we're doing right now. Don't think that we're just here and we're just getting beat up for no reason. No, we're all getting beat up. Because in the modern, or I would say in the Eurocentric scale of Christianity, again, they utilize the elements of the word. As the Pope would and has claimed, they have utilized it, especially on the basis and the conditioning of our enslavement. But the concept still remained the same because that's still ultimately how the Most High is glorified through spirit and in truth. So we have to consciously make the effort to say, Father, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to say, thank you, Father, that you have this. Thank you, Father, that you're working through this. I may not be able to work through this, but I know, Father, that you are doing this. And it's funny because I was doing a follow up because things are really moving, and I hadn't heard from this person, and I said, "What's going on here?" Everybody's getting hit with computer problems, and I said, I was just laughing. I said, "Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father, that we're all going through these trials." through these circumstances because whatever the Most High has allowed for us, the enemy always gets the opportunity to throw us off. That is like, I guess that's his spiritual right. I guess that's what it is. So it's like, all right, thank you, Father. Here we go. You read that all throughout Scripture. Shoot, you read that in Apocalypse of Abraham. You read that in Jasher. You read that all throughout. They, in terms of the form that you have here in the Bible, they'll just try to tell you, oh, well, you know what? Abraham went up and was trying to sacrifice Isaac, and behold, the Most High shined in a light, and it broke through the clouds as Abraham was beginning to strike Isaac on top of the altar, and bam, there was a ram. Not explaining, and this was what it does a poor job of, because this is why they took out Jasher and Enoch and a lot of the pseudopigophilia, or I still can't remember, the non-canonical books. I'll let Jacoba do the pseudopigophilia pigraphia books. I know I'm mispronouncing that. I'm sorry. It has been some days. I have literally worked harder in my non-school days than I than I had throughout the school year. And it's very interesting. It just is what it is. This is just the season. This is just the test. But they try to say that, your trials and your circumstance, well, it may be for a day, it may be for a season. People don't like to tell you, man, Jacob was in mourning over Joseph for over 17 years. Jeremiah, key word, Jeremiah, was letting the people of Jerusalem know that they were going into captivity for well over a decade. Oh, it's only this prophet who prophesies bad things. And then when the bad things began to happen, because it wasn't just Jeremiah. Jeremiah was the one that he said, look, my life is in your hands, Father. And Jeremiah had to provide the provision for the other prophets. I was saying the same thing because they weren't liked. They were not on TBN. They were not on Daystar. They were not invited to the White House for the National Days of Prayer. These were folks that were telling the truth. Hey, this is what the Most High is going to do. This is how this nation is going to collapse. This is how this nation is going to go into captivity. And how many times was that prophesied? It was prophesied so many times. They got sick of it. And then they finally did what? They threw him in prison. They threw him in jail. So all while the war is going on, can you imagine that? All while the siege is happening, you're just left for dead. In poop water. That was obviously disease infested. There's always the dark before the dawn. There is that joy. It does come in the morning. It comes when you've gone through the worst of it, and we're gonna go through that. We're gonna continue to move through that. But guess what? Darkness can't reign forever. They don't have the spiritual mandate. That's why it says a time of darkness. Time. Why? Because darkness cannot last forever. When Yahuwah said, "Let there be light." Y'all better understand what Genesis is all about. So I have the StreamYard link in the chat here because I said we need to get at this and have these discussions right here because I want to start with this. I want to start with this. Oh, these are not my words. I'm just giving you contemporary analysis. Oh boy. Let me go ahead and share this screen with you all. Disaster. This is as of the 15th. This is yesterday. Fox News Trump whisperer torches plan to give Iran 300 billion. Isaac Score. That's of yesterday, June 15th. Fox News contributor and Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen called the Trump administration's plan to establish a 300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran a disaster on Monday. During a conversation with CBS's Ed O'Keefe earlier this morning, Vice President J.D. Vance was asked, the Iranians are saying they're going to have access to a 300 billion reconstruction fund. True or false? Vance replied. Okay, this site is terribly. All right. Then it has a little editor's note. This is kind of weird. Okay. Let me read this editor's note. Well, Ed, that's the sort of thing that could have access to funded by the Gulf Coast Coalition. So as long as they honor their end of the obligation, I think that one of the things you're going to see, Ed, and people have to be skeptical of this, is that the hardliners in the Iranian system will overemphasize the benefits that Iran gets while underemphasizing all the things that they have to concede and all the things they have to provide in order to get these benefits. So we absolutely are open to the Gulf countries investing in the reconstruction of Iran, but only if Iran ends the nuclear program. Well, they didn't have that. So there's a lot of things that's it's shadowy talk. To me, that's why I say surrender. Because people are coming on out, especially the Iranians, they're coming on out and they're saying, look, they're never going to have a nuclear weapon. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Oh, they're definitely going to have a nuclear weapon. Why? This is all deterrence. This is all, oh, we're going to give you something now, but we're going to take it away with millions of lives. That's what happens. let me continue to read. So I think the dance you're going to see, Ed, which is going to be interesting, is the Iranian media, especially the hardline media. They're going to talk a lot about what they're getting or what they get without talking about what they give. It's important for all of us to correct that record. Thiessen reacted to the clip on X by arguing that 300 billion to Iran under any circumstances is a disaster, like offered Marshall Plan to rebuild Germany while I don't even know if I'm able to say that, Nazis were still in power. YouTube, this is just the article. I'm sending the article. And then this happens, is right here from Aaron Rupar. The Iranians are saying they're going to have access to a 300 billion reconstruction fund, true or false. JD Vance, that's the sort of things they could have access to so long as they honor their end of the obligation. Well, excuse me. Well, the thing and the issue that I see is that and thank you, brother ASAP. I'm gonna put this on up here, brother. Larry C. Johnson and Dr. O claim that Iran has a nuclear weapon. They already they have 3 nukes. Do you all know that it was about 10 days ago where there was, it had been floated. Things were being floated for for Iran actually having a nuke. Things went real quiet over like a 3-day period. It was eerily quiet. And when it went quiet, all of a sudden, then it was, oh, we got a great, spectacular deal on the table. I'm like, yeah. Iran pulled up on him. Iran gave him that lope dog. Iran, do we have a problem? Iran pulled up on him. Iran said, hold up. You know that's what happens. Like I had said, and I've stated this many, many times before. When they lose, they're going to act like they won. Oh, it's just $300 billion. It's another $24 billion. It's another, but just because they're getting that, don't think that they won. They're giving up a lot. Don't think. No, what ended up happening was that the United States, this is what happens when you lose. The loser pays the winner. I don't care how you chalk it up. I told you that's white supremacy 101. This is vanity 101. No, we didn't lose. No, they had a great deal. No, we didn't lose. Y'all lost. Now, they're going to paint this nice picture of how they won and they did this and they did, see, and Iran, hasn't done this because all they're going to try to do is basically state that Iran doesn't have the nuclear weapon, and Iran said, we never agreed to any of that. Y'all, that's the narrative y'all want to make. Do we have a problem? They're going to have $1 billion just to allocate. They're going to print up $1 billion. They're going to have the United States print up and ship out at least $10 billion just so they can have that in their downtown, let's Tehran Square parade. They're just gonna be letting it rain. They're gonna have them little dollar blower guns shooting out the little $100 bills. Yes, Mr. Trump, we want the $250 bills with your face on it so we can have big parade in Iran. They're going to be playing Biggie Smalls. You already know that in their little parade. Oh, oh, we did it, Iran. We did it. Y'all know how much of a slap in the face that will be? But let me tell you something. The story's not over yet. Let me continue to read this. Put this comment away. His commentary is particularly notable given his influence over the Trump administration's foreign policy and personal relationship with the president himself. Let me get through these little ads. Post opinion editor Adam O'Neill has told journalists that Thiessen's call with Trump regarding Ukraine were influential in persuading Trump to continue to take the country's side in the conflict in the face of some Republicans pushing for a quick settlement. Well, we can go through all that. Okay, and the article dies there. And then you're going to have the Washington Post and all of these. These are the fan sites. Let me put this in here. So, the Washington Post has Trump sought to break Iran's regime. He settled for reopening Hormuz. The emerging agreement ends the costly war but leaves Iran's leadership intact and its nuclear future still subject to negotiation. They don't have a nuclear future. It was yesterday from a Michael Birnbaum. President Donald Trump declared an end to his campaign against Iran's leaders with an exhortation on Sunday. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. However, but let's continue to read. With the Iranian regime still in place, who is celebrating a resumption of the way the world was on February 27th, the day before the United States and Israel attacked Iran. A return to a version of the status quo was a far cry from the original aims of a war effort that kicked off with a vow to come to the aid of the Iranian protesters who had taken to their nation's streets to denounce their regime. One strikes deleted Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei in the opening hours of the war. Trump told Iranians at the moment to seize back their nation had come. And an uprising never happened in the nearly 4 months since Iranian leaders demonstrated an ability to withstand. Okay, I don't really care about all that. Blah, 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 blah. As far as regime change, they never cared about regime change. Trump told the Wall Street Journal, which is a lie. He did care about that. And the goalpost continued to move, right? That's what they do. They move goalposts. So when all of the goalposts moved, so I like I like this. If the Iranians comply with this deal, it's going to fundamentally transform the Middle East for the next 50 years. It's going to fundamentally transform the Middle East right now as we speak because Iran won. This region of the world has been a basket case for my entire life and longer than that. Because why? Because the whole world saw, they witnessed what took place. Sometimes when you are going on out there and starting wars because you feel uncomfortable, I'm telling you, they learned things that they thought was going to. I always like it. I have to say this, and I'm sorry that it may offend people, but it's like this: if they think that because they're able to subjugate us, which the Most High has allowed them to do, don't get it twisted. I know that may have hurt a lot of people's feelings to realize that we're still in the lands of our captivity, to understand that we still have a technically illegal status of being a prisoner of war. I know that hurts a lot of people's feelings because they don't think that that's the case, and it is the case. And people are going to find out here in the next couple of weeks. So understand what I was saying yesterday. Even as people are on this channel, it really doesn't hit them until they actually see what's happening with their very own eyes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Well, I'm just going to go on out. I'm good. I'm just going to go on out and garden my plants. I'm going to go out, walk my dog. I'm going to go out and I'm trying to explain this to people. Be prepared, because this life, this experience that we have known, that our forefathers had known, is getting ready to change dramatically. Be prepared, as they were trying to show you what these these ICE detentions and things of that nature, how they were utilizing that to basically make sure that they have all of their TTPs, their tactics, their techniques, and their procedures, making sure that they know how to round folks up. Because why? Oh, okay, guess what? If they say that they're there illegally, hey, then we're much obliged. The U.S. has been losing. What do you think happens with that $300 billion? You think that just gets printed out of thin air from the quote-unquote Middle East? No, that's going to dramatically affect and impact change. So basically, if you didn't know, what they're actually saying is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and the likes, Kuwait, Iraq, all them folks are basically saying, hey, U.S., you need to stop. And you know what they did? They conceded to Iran's demands. Because when you listen to not just these articles that I'm putting on up there, but when you look at Times of India and other credible sources, and they're explaining that Saudi led the effort, Qatar led the effort because why? Because they were getting to levels, critical levels, that they were not going to be able to ever come back from. No, they'll come back in a very limited capacity, at least 24 to 36 months, at least. That's 3 years. On top of that, who's ever going to trust the United States again? I don't know how I could do business because if I do something or say something or engage somehow, then we're done. Do you see what's ended up happening? They shot them their own selves. They destroyed their own credibility. We didn't destroy it. They destroyed it in a glorious manner. Pretty fantastic. No, it's when people say, and I see all the, well, when the Democrats take control of the House, do you really think that this person is sitting up in office? Do you think that he's ever going to have an actual election again? Absolutely not. But for people to think about it, and I look, sometimes let people leave people alone in their daydreams. When folks are daydreaming, leave them alone. Okay, all right, okay, yeah, because yeah, because okay, all right. What is that, brother ASAP? The U.S. lost this war, and the world now sees that the school bully is now heavily weakened. What do you think is going to? I would tell you this: we're now here at a time to where this is the most dangerous time in the United States. Generally speaking, when a strong man does come to power, they're in war in like generally less than 12 months. They prolong that by about a good, I would say, 15, almost 16 months. 17, depending on how you see things. Trump got in office last January, and he was off to war in about 13 months. And they didn't want to call it a war. They just called it a little conflict, a little excursion. Well, yeah, of course it is. I mean, a Lion Pride says he knows it's jail time after losing another election. Yeah, he knows. You're going to see so many people cut and run from this administration probably by the end of this week. It's time for me to bounce. It's time for me to dip. I gotta. I'm leaving the United States. I'm going to non-extradition country. Why do you think so? Look, it's like the mafia. You listen. You ain't just gonna up and quit and leave. It don't work like that. You better find yourself a spot like Marjorie Taylor Greene up in Costa Rica, Panama, wherever she went. My house in Georgia is gone. I do have to say, yeah, and people assume that Trump has displeased his real employers. Well, here's the funny thing about even this whole peace, supposed peace agreement and everything else. It's supposed to create the shackles per se on the Eastern Mediterranean nation, so they don't go after Lebanon. They're supposed to withdraw from Lebanon. As far as I know and can tell, that's not going to happen. That's a nice little pipe dream or hoop dream or whatever dream that they have. But as far as I can tell, that's not going to happen. So what is going to happen is that again, um, the U.S. will say it had peace. That Eastern Mediterranean nation is going to continue to bomb Lebanon, and they're going to get bombed. And then the U.S. will say, "Well, it felt threatened." Do you see the game that's played here? I want people to actually understand the real game. Yeah, of course. He's going to go after Turkey next. Yes. But they says the second that things quell, BB freedom will be called into question. Is he going to go after Turkey next? I would say, yeah, absolutely. But they can't. They don't have an actual land bridge, so they're going to bring in the PKK, um, Kurdish fighters. That was why Jelani was there in Syria. That's why they installed Jelani in Syria. Remember, they were all afraid that Jelani was going to go after the Golan Heights and then cross into Israel. And I'm like, no, he's not. This is Western backed. And what did he do? He stopped and he said, "Oh, I am only here for the Syrian government because they have been blah 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 blah." And yeah, yeah. See, he's a good guy. He likes basketball. He's a good guy. I kid you not. That is exactly what they said. I wish I could make this up. I can't. It is. It's not even comical anymore. It's actually pretty sad. Yafan says Turkey is in NATO though. What did that trigger? Article 5. Yes and no. How can it trigger an Article 5? Because then you have who would have to jump to the aid? The US and Great Britain. See, in my opinion, I already told you, NATO was already done. And with Turkey being in NATO, that was always an issue. What will end up happening, I'm going to tell you this, what will end up happening is NATO will fracture because it'll be, well, we can't help you because we have our internal fracturing and divisions. That's where you would have more than likely, I'm just giving you the synopsis, more than likely, you would have Germany and France then having to answer the call to support NATO. That's what I told you. Like, you know, this thing is a complicated business because you're now starting to see a very big polarization because you already know the UK and the US will be supporting who? that Eastern Mediterranean nation. But the Eastern Mediterranean nation will be surrounded because you're going to have a blockade instrumented by places like Greece and Egypt, and more than likely Spain. Oh, yeah, France will jump in. France will jump in on the side of NATO. Do you know how many? Do you know how 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 much great relations and relationships that Turkey has with Africa in general? They don't go into Africa. And let me just let's just be for real, because I think a lot of you all may not really understand the dynamics that Turkey has with Africa. They do a lot of business in Africa, but they're not there colonizing Africa. So for Turkey, Turkey would just make a few phone calls and say, "Hey, can you embargo these folks for me?" Yep, got it. It's all getting cut off. And those folks would be basically the UK. So to me, that would be a huge battle of the Mediterranean right there. Because think about the strategic locale of Turkey. We're talking about they would go through, obviously, and try to flank through eastern Turkey. Western Turkey would then be more so alongside with Greece and Italy. They would probably have a blockade, so you wouldn't have any ships. And a lot of the funny things about that is, I believe that the Houthis and Egypt would then side on behalf of Turkey. So places like Syria, places like Jordan, and even Saudi Arabia, they'll probably get starved out. More than likely. That is my opinion. More than likely. In terms of that strategic alliance. Because remember, Turkey was not happy that Iran was struck. Turkey was not happy that, to be quite honest, they said this. They said, we don't feel comfortable with having these Kurdish forces, because PKK does terrorism in Turkey. They blow up things in Turkey. And the US was funding them through in northern Syria, northern Iraq. And remember, weapons were coming out of Azerbaijan, because PKK is also in Iran. These Kurdish elements. Exactly. Thank you, Afan. Afan says Turkey, like Iran, keeps the Kurds in check. They absolutely do. And Minister Rick says, wasn't Turkey selling oil to Israel, or excuse me, the Eastern Mediterranean nation on the low until recently? Yes, they were all selling, but now you have to understand the campaign of conquest is here. And Chef was asking, what is PKK? PKK is like the popular Kurdish movement or Kurdish forces. They are a military, and basically they're a terrorist wing, all intents and purposes, and they're a terrorist wing that the U.S. does openly work with. They tell them, they've said it, they've shown it, and generally they're based out of Erbil, Iraq. So this is nothing that is um, out of the ordinary. It has been disclosed quite heavily. And even the U.S. has stated that that was one of the game plans that they were trying to utilize to destabilize Iran. And then Iraq and Turkey had a problem with that because they're still trying to do that to destabilize. Even though, and again, that's what's going to end up happening. Even though Iran may get money, think about the play on this one. Oh well, we did give you billions of dollars. We gave billions of dollars to other Iranian groups, military equipment, materiel, and guess what they'll do? They'll go through. They won't just destabilize Iran. They'll destabilize Iraq and they'll destabilize Turkey. Exactly. So Turkey felt like we're next on the list. Yes. Oh yeah. This again. These are very complicated regional conflicts. These are sub-regional sub-conflicts that make up all of the necessary proxies. Well, why is the Middle East so destabilized? Gee, I wonder why. But now, in all the confusion, people are starting to actually put all the pieces together and they're starting to find out really quickly. Um, why do you think they have now stated the U.S. is the nation that single handedly, they stated this, they said this, the U.S. is now the nation that they single handedly feel is the nation that is responsible for the destabilization of world peace and security. They came on out with that a couple weeks ago. Come on. Why do you think last week when they're publishing the polls, 11% approval rate? How can you go and trust the people that continue to go about destabilizing things? Like I had said, these folks know, they understand. The U.S. just didn't declare war on Iran. They declared war on the global energy system. And through that little horn, that declaration is now the symbol of being able to go through and conquer at will. Well, who's going to stop? Who's going to make war with the beast? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Who's going to overthrow Babylon? Not many contenders. That's what, look, your heating costs, shoot, our electricity costs. We're getting here into summertime. Brother Asa says, you're right. My heating cost is going to rise by another 13% this winter because the whole world is now under threat and under fire through economic war. This is called economic war. Economic warfare. Gee, at the end of the day, when somebody loses, somebody has to pay. That's economic warfare. Here's the thing. In all of this, I would not be surprised that these Middle Eastern nations, that they're going to go ahead and they're going to kick out all of the U.S. forces and potentially even their allies. So France probably gone also. UK probably gone also. Oh, from our UK correspondent. Shalom, brother Asaph.
Shalom, shalom. I was planning not to come up, but once you started touching some of my favorite subjects, I had to come up.
So what say you about what I'm saying? Is that something that is I know a lot of people will think that that's far fetched or it may not happen, but I'm sorry. We've seen everything that has happened. Jacoba has an awesome track record. He is the prophetic resource. But I'm going to say, I think our track records here in terms of being able to accurately call, digest, forecast. That's what I think I like the better terminology. Forecast and our assessments.
We haven't been too bad either. Probably we're gonna have the book of Jacoba when we go back out of captivity.
he's not going to be happy about that.
Uh, uh,
But go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, but the I'm smiling, but the thing that is we have been 100% accurate in our predictions. And if I didn't release the end of Western hegemony, Masters of the Universe, from muskets to AI, rise and decline of Western hegemony, that book would be useless now
Mm,
because it predicted the fall of the US dollar. It also highlighted how America loves to go around and pick wars, how it's overextended itself with its bases.
hmm
And I didn't touch that Eastern Mediterranean state, but you can definitely see which which part of the dog is wagging which.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that, and I said that a while ago, and people are like, "Oh, that's not true. The U.S. is the one in charge." I kind of had to laugh. I was like, "All right,
No,
if you say so. If you say so."
because this peace deal that they're doing is just peace before sudden destruction, because this peace deal is not going to hold.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you understand, it's holding a certain nation there on the Eastern Mediterranean nation. It's holding them accountable to stop the war, to stop the conflict. They're going all in. And as we say this, people say, "Oh, that's anti this or anti that." No, it's not. We're just telling you what scriptures are
It,
actually
yeah,
saying.
it's not anti, because if BB gets a holiday via his previous activities, I'm being very circumspect in the way that I'm speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Smotrich in the background that has heavy Knesset backing from a cross-party view over there in that Eastern Mediterranean state, and he has much stronger views than BB himself,
Mm-hmm.
and wants to be more proactive than BB himself to carry out the programs that were initially conceived by the Eastern Mediterranean state and further the objectives militarily.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
and that will put yourselves over there in a more precarious position, and us in Europe, and especially in the UK, in an even more precarious situation, because you don't see the anti-S drive by those people as prominent as the United States. It's as strong here, because if you say anything about them now, it's classed as a serial criminal, the highest criminal offense.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
criticize them, you can easily get 4 to 5 years in prison.
What just happened recently? There was an appeals court that affirmed the ban. It affirmed the ban.
That's correct.
You are not
and
allowed to say anything
anything about it. But I always knew that the climate surrounding them was like that, because even if you're uniformed, you are putting yourself at risk, challenging the lowest level one of them.
Mm-hmm.
On anything, whether it's a parking ticket or whether it's going through a red light or any type of thing, you just have to get their own people to deal with them.
So what is that actually? What is that actually called? You're actually in an apartheid state.
Yeah, I wasn't going to use strong languages like that, because I don't know that.
Yeah, I'll say it for you. I'll say it for you because you are obviously there, but yeah. But that's the resemblance, right?
Yeah,
that's the resemblance.
And also, I don't want you to get struck, because what's happened now is that they're going around and they're cherry picking certain YouTube channels that are talking about the geopolitical situation and just closing them down.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, Larry Johnson was closed down.
Yeah, but
Pepe's channel was closed down, and a few others received strike warnings just by talking and commenting around the circumstances that is happening now. But we know through back channels that these people has been talking to, that there's been a deal done, and both Europe and the United States are hoping to extricate themselves from this situation, because all of us are hurting, and it's going to get worse. It's not going to get any better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I told you all. Let me make sure I put my little Cash App on up there, my little PayPal and Zelle. Look, this is because me talking about this. This is real.
I will put this. Dr. Copeland has worked extensively on research on the economic threats and political threats of the BRICS nations as they rise. How they will displace the US dollar and weaken the political clout of the United States. Because if you look at it now, the GDP of BRICS has overtaken the combined GDP of the G7 countries completely.
Yeah. The G7 is actually it's really a puppet in name only. And I've explained that, and I'm going to get Minister Rick and then Sister Chantel up in here, because look, what we're doing is we're just giving you the facts. So I'm not here to throw any shade. Matter of fact, I tell people this. Look,
pray for those people. I'm going to divulge our conversations we've had.
Yeah, let me be.
But I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to enjoy narrating what happened and how Babylon fell in some of the classes that I am going to teach in the future, because I can feel it. are supposed to be dead many times over, are supposed to be a cripple as well. But
Yeah.
Yahuwah,
Yeah.
Yahuwah has spared me. I can't believe that I'm lifting heavier than when I was in my 20s and in my 40s.
What is
I'm
it?
lifting
Almost three
heavier
years?
weights.
Is it almost 3 years? You should have. Yeah. Technically speaking, the enemy wanted to get you out of here.
Completely, completely. And we're all under the same attack. Look what the enemy has done to you.
Yeah.
Look what
Yeah.
he's and continuing to do to you. We all
Hmm.
have our fights. We won't have a bit of respite until we are out of this situation. You know, the food that we like, we may not be able to get it when we're on the continent, but there's nothing as beautiful as peace of mind.
Are you kidding? They're still gonna have chocolate on the continent. We just gonna be making the chocolate. We gonna be all right. We got vanilla. We gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be fresher too. Oh
Yeah,
snap! Look at
but
that.
until you experience a sunrise and a sunset on the continent, and you sit down under a cool tree without no worries in your mind,
Hmm.
then you will understand what you left behind.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But the way that it's looking now, from our perspective here, is that they want us to leave. They're doing the
Oh,
same things
go
that they're
ahead.
doing to you over there. You've got the 1964 Equality Act over there,
Hmm.
which has been repealed by decree.
Hmm.
We are under the same circumstances now where we're having the Equality Act of 2010 being looked at now, and this current government, which is like a stopgap for the real thing to come in,
Hmm.
the previous party has morphed into an extremist right-wing party, and they're looking at removing the Equality Act. They're looking at removing social housing for immigrants that's come over. And this will be like the doctors and nurses that have emigrated and living in social housing because the
Hmm.
wages is not so high unless you were born here. And secondly, the ID system will take away our rights over here because there's nothing stopping any designated person, whether they're police or local, any type of pseudo enforcement from asking for your ID. So
Yeah.
that's done.
Hmm.
So
Thank you, brother ASAP.
yeah, I'll shut up
Let me
now.
get Minister Rick on up in here. Minister Rick, shalom. Shalom, Minister Rick. Can you hear me?
Yes, to hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah,
What say
I'm at the
you?
airport. I have connection problems. Yes, just real quickly. What the situation we find with our Congress being bought out and being controlled by a little horn, I think sometimes Jacoba calls it, uh, happened in England historically in 1815 after the Napoleonic Wars. So what we are experiencing with certain lobbies in Congress has been in England.
Hmm.
So they've been in this situation for years. So it's just manifesting itself. That's nothing new. Uh, the question that comes to my mind that I'd like to ask the panel is, how long does the harlot have? Uh, we know her skirt has been exposed, but how
Yeah.
long till that rodeo shoot and the other folks just the Britain, you know? So that's the question that I want to ask, and how does that affect our leaving?
Exactly. That's a great question. Let me pass this on over to Sister Chantel, our other UK correspondent.
Shalom, shalom, everyone. How are you, Dr. Copeland? Hi. Okay, that's the first and definitely the last time I'm going to use it. It just doesn't, it feels weird. You done the work and everything. I should really say it, but I don't know. For me, it just feels weird.
But the doctor's in the house.
Two of them actually.
Two of them. Two of the doctors in the house.
Too. So
Is there
I'm
a doctor?
sorry.
Is there a doctor
My
in the house?
apologies. My apologies. Good Lord.
We are learned up in here. We are learned. We
Look,
got some
look, oh,
education.
Oh no! It's two. It's two. Don't get it twisted. It's two. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
so sorry. I'm so sorry.
yeah.
Rake me over the coals. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I literally just came in. I was like, oh, hey, let me come on. I want to say shalom to everyone in the chat. I hope you're having a great day. I don't know why. I'm in a good mood. I just am. I just woke up and I just feel refreshed.
Let me preface this right here for you, Sister Chantel. The U.S. is getting ready to pay $324 billion to Iran as part of their war reparations funding. Now, here's the cold thing about this: the U.S. is going to utilize countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq to pay back or to pay Iran those 300 billion. Doesn't that similarity, doesn't that sound strikingly odd and strikingly familiar with what I was trying to explain, right? Hey,
What
let's think
yesterday?
about this let's think when we're talking about the reparations, right? And how when I told you the Pope has
Mm,
made that decree, right? Ghana
mm,
jumped in on it, right? It wasn't even 3 days later.
mm.
Ghana jumped in. Remember, I said it was about a week to a week and a half. They didn't want to broadcast that
No.
to the rest of the world. They didn't want to do that. They jumped on it 3 days later. Tomorrow, they're having a reparations conference in Accra,
In Ghana?
in Ghana. Yes.
Mm.
Okay. Right now, the framework is there as their quote unquote peace deal, peace agreement, that Iran is getting funded to a tune of over $300 billion because of the US's war by these Arab nations, these Middle Eastern nations, these Gulf countries. That's pretty. How cold is that? Guess what that means? That shows. Hey, listen. Like I said, the U.S. won't be paying out funds. They're going to try to get all these other nations to pay out the funds. Do you see what I'm saying?
That
These
deplorable.
now you are starting to see what I've been saying in terms of how this framework is happening. Because why? Because they're doing it, they're showing you the mechanisms. So if you're seeing the mechanisms, and guess what, it can be done. It's there. This is the precedent.
To me, it just kind of feels like as if it's another situation of America just trying to shirk their responsibilities to pass the buck, so to speak. It's like they will never look. When I've said in the past, you guys are never going to get your reparations. When I say you guys, you lot, whatever,
Oh,
I
mm-hmm.
mean all of us. We're not getting our reparations, at least not like that. I
What do you what was the thing that I was saying yesterday? We will be
we'll be
leaving.
leaving.
We'll be
There's a,
leaving. And the
I watched your
mechanisms
sister.
of us the mechanisms of us leaving, people aren't look, they're gonna get mad. Why? What is happening? Well, you're leaving because you have to do X, Y, and Z. You're leaving because number one, man, this place done lost the war.
Mm.
Think
One
about
thing,
it.
uh, one thing they are doing, they are establishing reparations as policy.
Yes.
It was oh, this couldn't be done, this couldn't be done, this couldn't. Now that reparations going all over the place.
Bingo.
So
Oh, you
so
got reparations for
so
Iran. You got
so
24
yes,
billion
oh,
for
you got
them.
this. Oh, you got money. You know the debtor that owes
Yeah.
our people, the deadbeat. Oh, you got money. Oh,
You
you
got
said
oh.
we broke. We can't. Oh, you got all kind of money.
Well, it was
So
for Ukraine first, wasn't it? Really,
oh yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
and the other
Ukraine,
thing
the other
is
place we
and
don't talk about, and now Iran.
and we may not get reparations, but here in the state, but we will get recompense. Recompense is reparations with punitive damages from the Most High.
Hmm.
I'll just rest my case on that.
You know, I was watching a sis the other day that was on, I think it was Nanya Sim, and she, I, I love our people, I really do, but sometimes it's like the level of, it's not, I don't want, it's not, I'm not poking fun of anybody because I think we are so forgiving and we are so, as a people collectively, we're so forgiving and we are so trusting that we really truly believe that, you know what, we can all live together. And I'm listening and I'm like, I know that some of our people in the chat have probably seen this video and they probably, when hearing this, you're probably going to be like, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I feel the same way because we've heard this from so many other people around us. But it's like she was talking about when we get our reparations, they're going to see something. They're going to see how we're going to come back to, we're going to be bringing back, Black Wall Street, we're going to be building up. And I'm like, are you crazy? Are you build what with these people?
We're gonna build up
Are
in
you
the prison
mad?
yard. We're gonna build
How
up in the
can you?
prison yard. That's
For
really what
me,
it's saying.
for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, how do you reconcile with the fact that you did what you did? They didn't give you anything the first time you did it. You did it with your own everything that it was grassroots. You built it yourself, right? In their mind, they're giving you. Now, we already know that's not the case. It's you're repairing because you took and you took and you still take to this day. But but you understand this is your history. You understand that they did that, and that was when you actually did it off your own merit without them repairing nothing.
Wait. Are you trying to tell me that Black Wall Street and all of these successful black communities that were destroyed? Are you telling me that it wasn't DEI? Is that what
Oh,
you're telling
I'm
me?
definitely
What?
telling you that. No
What?
DEI there. It was hard labor, something that they have never been able to do. Something, if we're going to be honest, nobody in the entire world has ever been able to do, right? And then they destroyed it. There was nothing of them that lent to building all these different towns and even some cities, if we're going to be honest, that you guys established. There was nothing of them. They didn't give anything. There was nothing, there was no loans or anything that you guys took. So they destroyed it off of your own hard work. And I'm like, did you not, look, what is going to stop them from doing that again? What is going to stop them? What, because you're not your ancestors? Yeah, but they are. They most definitely are.
But again, what that does is that tells we tell on our own selves when we say, listen, um, that's a mental illness. And I tell people, you know, it's not
Mental
just a
illness
mental illness,
for whom?
it's also a spiritual illness that
For
we
whom? Us or
for
them?
us for us. It's a spiritual
Okay.
illness that a lot of our people have. And that spiritual illness, that is the definition of insanity, trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting, a different result. And you can't do that. And
I
that's
think
why.
our people are just innocent, Caris. I really do. Look, there's a reason why we are portrayed as his sheep, the lamb-like, because we just keep. That's when you literally watch what sheep are like. They just follow. They keep going through taking the same path. That's us. That it takes a while for a sheep to realize this really ain't working, and I think that's us, you know.
But remember, we're here with what does the word say? Literally, what type of shepherds do we have? We have cruel shepherds that do what? That feed us to the land, that feed us to the wolves. That's what we've had for these last couple of 100 years and then some. So you can't say that, we were sheep, just wandering around. No, no, because even the sheep knows to stay away from the wolf. But when our own shepherds, what, they pitied us not. They didn't have any pity on us. They fed us. And we were being fed. Now this is the very first time that we've said, hey, get off of our bones. We're tired of being fed. We're tired of being literally cooked in an actual factual sense, delectable Negro.
Yeah.
So now, no, you have a lot of people. These are, again, the ones that are shouting the most about, well, we want this. That's the Boule class. Because why? Because let's just be honest. What did they do? They sold their inheritance. They sold themselves for this system. They sold themselves to do what? To go over the burning sands. To do what? To continue to uphold every responsibility that they're supposed to have to Egypt, to captivity.
I like what Echo Bella said, you do not stay and live amongst people that have an unnatural hatred for you, and it is so unnatural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can't even, like, you asked them, like, well, why do you hate us so much? They can't even articulate it. Well, I honestly, I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so if you don't know, then how can we have a conversation with the people that they just can't get it? That's like literally, I mean, I have to be honest. It's a lot of our people trying to have conversations with 3-year-olds.
I don't even know why we're still trying to talk sense to these people. Look, Paul said they're a foolish nation. Why are we trying? For years we've been trying to do it. You've been trying to do it. You guys have been trying to do it over there. We've been trying to do it over here. The rest of our people have been trying to do it in France, in Spain, in Portugal. We've been trying to talk sense to these people, and they really. I was watching the World Cup. Literally, is putting America on blast. Mm-hmm. I'm just watching some. I'm not watching it because I ain't got time for that. I'm just watching certain videos that talking about, the World Cup and everything. And there was one girl that was saying from yours face. One girl, she was basically saying how, the problem is that America doesn't have the infrastructure to support this game, and they don't, because you guys, what you need to understand, like, the world plays football, right? And it is a world game, and it's a world sport. It's a world game that is based on for the working class. It was like you can literally go to any game, go to any stadium, and all you need to do is just catch a bus or catch a train, and it's right there, it's just easy to get to. But you guys have to go car, and it's crazy. And then they've whacked up the prices, the prices of transportation, the prices of hotels and everything. So most of the fans, that would support, that went to other games, that or other countries that hosted it, they can't even go. And the ones that do are complaining, like, this is ridiculous. And then you've got like
savings. They're spending their life savings.
Yeah,
come on over for a lackluster experience.
That's true. Some, like, okay, so soccer isn't your game. I agree. Some of you do like it, but I agree it's not your game, which makes me wonder why it's there in the first place. And that's the one thing that everybody's saying. Like, everybody else plays it. Like, it should have been in South America. I don't even know why it's in America in the first place. And everybody's saying the same thing. Why is America hosting it? I don't know anything about the game. I'm talking like in terms of en masse. I know you know the game, but and there's a few out there, but and if it was in Mexico, a lot of people who do support the game in America would go, and they would actually be able to afford to go there.
No.
But this is it's ridiculous. And then you've got
To me, this is like the last grasp of the money grab, because again, America doesn't have the tourism power that it once had. People aren't coming to the U.S. like that anymore. I see that. I'm here in Florida. This is like tourism central between here and Florida or in California, and it's not there. People are actually packing up homes, that have timeshares and things of that nature for vacations and things like that. They're being canceled. They're literally saying, look, we don't want to be here. And matter of fact, we can't even afford to get on over there, let alone, if it wasn't the World Cup, they'd have to go through all these other ridiculous procedures.
Yeah, and nobody really wants to go to America. No offense, but nobody. And I'm not even offending you guys, because I know how much everybody wants to get out now anyway. So, but there's always going to be some people who are like diehards, patriots, and whatever. But at the end of the day,
I'm going to tell you this. You got to remember, a lot of those people that are the quote unquote the diehard patriots and things. You have to remember the psychology. It's a psychosis, and I have to tell our people, it's the same thing that we just, as a people, I'm going to tell you this, as a people, I would say a good 75% of us have gotten over the psychosis because of how we are seeing things in the White House. I mean, that's just how that goes. And now we're seeing these things, and it wasn't just, a one-off. This was from 2020 on. So a lot of the psychosis that we once had has very much deteriorated, and it's deteriorated to the point that they've noticed that we've gotten over our psychosis, and they've actually asked, for us to come back into the psychosis so that we can quote unquote make America great again. And then we always ask the question, for who? What does that benefit us? And they can never answer that. Well, once we do this, then we can fix these problems. And then once we fix these problems, and we just tell them, we've heard that before. All of these things that you said, you're just a broken record. It's a broken record, broken. And now they're mad because we're not adopting the hysterics and the craziness that we once had been known to do. We would just blindly follow.
You see, we're no longer hypnotized by promises anymore because America's in decline. When you look at places like Gary, Indiana, that was established in 1906, Youngstown, Ohio, and Pine Bluff in Arkansas, and other areas, you see the deindustrialization and depopulation of places like that spreading like wildfire. This is why America couldn't host the entire World Cup in America, despite you having the land surfaces and the stadia, because of how your inner cities are run down.
Yeah. Does it have plenty of venues? America does. The problem is, it doesn't. It never wanted to have the actual transportation equity. And let me tell you a story about transportation equity. Here in the United States, especially here in Florida, this was a couple years ago when I did vote. This had to have been back in about 2010, 2012. I wanted to have a monorail system because the monorail system would have connected Tampa, Miami, and Orlando. And that light rail system would have allowed for you to get to all the places here in South Florida in like less than 2 hours. It was a great system. It was a great setup. It was like, I think it was called the Bright Line Extender, for those here in Florida that may remember that. and they had a very steep threshold. You needed to have about like 60% votes. They can't, and the thing is that the people campaigned heavily against it. And you want to know the lobbying group, the main lobbying group campaigning against that? It wasn't Republicans, it was a bipartisan effort of, you know, of them folks. We don't want to have something that would actually benefit people. It's just like national health care here. We don't want to have national health care here because it's a benefit to them. And then what ends up happening is then it create so now and now you don't have the infrastructure. I mean, Miami kind of has that infrastructure. That's because Miami sits so close to the South that there's a lot of South American Caribbean dominance to that, which is pretty decent. Pretty decent. All the other places here in Florida, now it shows you why, we're still in the South, especially, anything north of I-4. I'm just being dead honest with that one. But now all of a sudden, when these folks are again having to do the Ubers and having to take the taxis and trying to look, you can't do any type of public transportation to get somewhere. Are you kidding? You don't take a bus to get to a hotel, to get to anywhere. You're gonna have to take a Uber or another type of semi-personal convenience or rent a car. That's how that goes. It doesn't work. And that's why people are getting raked over the coals. Well, I thought that they actually had a good transportation or public transportation system. No, they don't. Yeah, you can take it. It's going to take you about 6 or 7 hours to get to where you want to go. I had that personal experience when I was up in New York last September. They said, "Yeah, you look. I was up in Harlem. Harlem. Okay, Harlem. And my family is over in Long Island, just east. I'm gonna tell you, just east of JFK, like not even 20 minutes away on the highway. Well, I'd say 30. Why was it going to take about almost 3 to 4 hours to go and see them? 3 to 4 hours. Do you know how long that takes me? That's the same amount of time that takes me literally to drive from Tampa to Miami. And we're talking about in a 50 square mile radius. I said, yeah. I said, this place is cooked. It's done. It's done. I said, I could get in my car and literally drive from where I live at in Tampa over to Miami. We're not just talking about Miami, over to literally like Kendall and Homestead, Florida City, Naranja. We're talking about south of Miami. Yeah, I can get there in 3.5 hours to 4 hours. Same time it would take for me to go from Harlem. I was literally at the Apollo. And I'm like, this is crazy. They're like, yeah. But if you get an Uber, you can get here in about an hour and a half. But it's going to be about $200. I said, this is ridiculous. I told my family, I said, well, I'll try to catch y'all later next time. My goodness. Sorry, go ahead if whoever I cut off last, and I'm gonna get to Brother Fast Nickel. Yeah, I wish I could make it up. This is the truth is crazier. Look, the truth is so bad they now have to make things up just so you can cope with the truth. No, you're conspiracy theorists. No, you're trying to be fear mongers. No, you're trying to. Okay, go ahead, brother Fats Nickel.
Shalom, everyone. I wasn't even sure if I was going to make it to get up because
Shalom, cause
I didn't go to bed till late working on the R6.
Yeah, no, no, I saw it. That's fantastic. Thank you, brother Fats Nickel. A lot of the things that we're doing in the background, there's a lot of moving parts. That's why I have about another 30 minutes because I have another moving part to get everything connected and reconnected and reestablished. Hallelujah. This is what happens. Look, the Most High is good, but he's definitely allowing us to go through some things. So, hallelujah.
That is true. But to piggyback on what you said about Brightline, now I've never ridden on the Brightline, but the people that I know that have said it's great. But the one thing that you didn't mention is Disney was going to actually back it, but
They
they
were.
wanted the monorail, and for whatever reason, they went against the monorail, which the monorail would have been faster, and so then Disney backed out.
They did. And the monorail would have covered everything from Tampa, because it was going to hit downtown Tampa. We have like a little trolley system. It's nothing really too fantastic. It goes from like Ybor City, which is about 2 or 3 miles away from downtown, and you just take that in, and you can go to the arena that's down there where they play hockey with the Bolts, you know, and then you can go to other places downtown, and you go up to historic Ybor. It's not too crazy, but in Ybor you also do have the Amtrak. Yeah, the Amtrak. So what it was actually going to do, it was going to connect a lot more and provide a lot more connective tissue to um to I would say inner city Tampa. And that would have been very instrumental or very huge because if you didn't know, Hillsborough County is in the Tampa Bay area in general is one of the most dangerous places in the United States when it comes to vehicular homicides, accidents regarding pedestrians. Now, I'd also would argue and contend that you had that because there is quite a serious, Fenny Fen problem up in here. You see him all the time tweaking out. My son, we were on our way to my son's soccer game the other day. Had to take some back roads up in Hillsborough County on the east side, and you saw one of and the east side is very Caucasian. It is. Yes, it is. And my son's like, "What is this dude doing?" It's like he's looking like he's limping across the road, trying to trying to cross the road limping. And I already just automatically told my son, without like having much conscious thought to it, I just said, "No, it's just a meth head. Don't worry about it." We see him then walk across the other side of the road. Sure enough, my man was just tweaking on out. And when they tweak on out, they don't really have the bodily facets, right, to control themselves. So they look all sorts of weird. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It is. Because and the sad thing is I see them all the time. And even when working as a school teacher, I saw that every single day. every single day because I had to get off of MLK. MLK is the same. It don't matter where you are at around the world, the nation. MLK is the same, except in Tampa. Tampa on the east side of MLK, it ain't black folks that's tripping out like that. It's not us. It's them, and they're constantly, man, they are constantly engaged with the police. And I'm just kind of like, I I used to say some ignorant stuff. Used to say, caveat, used to say. But y'all remember in Trading Places, officer, can I recommend a nightstick? Because they would be tripping on out, and like I don't know how the officers did it. Like, you know what I'm saying? If that was us, get out of here, all in the face. You don't know what type of fentanyl residue was being spit on that police officer. If that was us, man, they'd be put down with a couple pew pews. Now I see these folks, they're just going all crazy, all theatrics and everything else. And I laugh because I'm like, man, do you know all the stuff that I'm able to capture on my dash cam? I'm about to have me another channel. Covenant Awakenings. Tampa driving. Yeah, so this week I'm putting together the compilation, the best of driving. Man, you would be, yeah. It's crazy. It is crazy, and it's not just Tampa. That's Orlando. That's Miami. Am I lying, brother Fast Nickel?
No.
I'm just surprised that I haven't seen them out this summer with the newspaper and Windex.
Memories of New York.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that because that was big up in New York in the 80s, especially.
Yep. I first saw that when I was in Camden, and then I went to Newark. Went to Newark to see my cousins. I was like, "What is this?" Hey man, spare $1, man. Spare $1. Come on, man. Come on, man. Spare $1. Come on, man.
Oh my goodness.
As my grandmother would be driving us in the 1987 blue Buick LeSabre. Man,
but Brother Karras, you brought up a point that I don't know if a lot of people really dissect. So I don't travel a lot internationally, but when you look at some of these countries internationally, they're really built up from a transportation system and just overall. And for America to supposedly be like the number one country in the world, we're so behind the times. And to your point, it's on purpose. And when you think about that movie, They Cloned Tyrone, and then when Kiefer Sutherland says that this was a social experiment, you have to believe it, because if they really wanted this to be a great nation, they could have easily done it, but they didn't want it to be.
Yeah, I would say this. Why did they do They Cloned Tyrone? To me, it was they're showing you all the things that is happening and that has happened to us. But all of a sudden, like, one of the things that I've told people, and I've said this many times, they're seeing what's happening with us, and they're making sport of it, right? They're laughing, ha ha, he he. They're making sport of it. But didn't I tell you this? I said they're laughing at our pain and our misery, but guess who's paying attention to it? our brothers and sisters on the continent. What we had been doing is we've been vocalizing what it is that we're going through. Why do you think that they're so mad that, hey, I didn't want you all to say this or say that? Why? Because here's the thing. We spoke up. They're mad that we spoke up. And do you now understand they're literally in less than 24 hours getting ready to hold the first conference? We're talking about this is actual reparations. And guess what? They're going to pay. They're going to pay the reparations. Because we want to know, you want to see the model? Do you see the model here? With these European nations? Remember I told you yesterday, I said, France is jumping into this, trying to, they're trying to get the jump. Oh, yes, we would help. You would help with reparations. Oh, d'accord. Why is that? Because France is saying we're not going to be stuck with that bill. We already know who we're going to pin that on. Do you see what's happened? The U.S. is doing the same model. There will be $300 billion that Iran will have access to, that the Arab nations are going to pay. The Arab nations are going to pay for the U.S. having declaring war. Do you get what I'm telling you? How insensitive is that? Hey, sorry that we blew up. You had your stuff blown up, but since we lost, you're gonna front the bill. Wait, hold up. Now they're saying, wait, hold up. Man, y'all lost. We're fronting the bill? What? I'm telling you, pay attention. Nah, look. You're not. I'm praying that our people are getting this. France is going to say, yes, we're going to pay Haiti. Yes. The U.S. is going to pay for us. That's going to be the same with Germany, Italy, Spain, you name it. The U.S. is going to pay for us. Why? Because the U.S. is the one that did what? They opened up that door. You can't do what we do. Wait a second. You're not allowed to do what we do. Says who? We've explained this to them. They didn't want to listen to this. Do you get what I'm saying? Do y'all get where I'm coming from? I pray that I'm making sense to someone. Yep, thank you. Yeah, there are African YouTubers talking about the Carmelo Anthony trial, also questioning the verdict. Yes, because now our brothers and sisters on the continent, they're no longer just being silent. They're actually being vocal. So if they're being vocal, guess what? Them political leaders, they have to do something or else they're risking having a coup. These people aren't stupid. They're getting hamstrung too. Hey, listen, we got to go after you, because if not, then they're going to go after us. Sorry. Y'all on the chopping block. Oh, yeah. So what do you think is going to happen here in the United States? Well, obviously, the projects that the U.S. was probably once had with these big tycoons, these big oil folks, probably is not going to be there anymore. All these other nations, well, you want to know what? I don't want to get thrown under the bus. We're going to have to limit our relationships. Look, well, why is that? Well, what's going on? Man, did you see that you just threw these Gulf countries under the bus? I didn't say it. That is literally what JD Vance said. They'll have access to the funds, but you want to know what? This is the funds that the Gulf countries are paying. What? The Gulf countries are paying? I'm sorry, but does anybody feel what I'm saying? If you had, if one of your friends went on up and pew pewed up a liquor store and they got in trouble and they say, hey, can you pay the to fix everything on up? I would say no. Heck no. The only way I could say that I could see them doing that is to be honest, is that again, these Gulf nations are threatening themselves. If you don't do this, then we're going to come after you. Now, if the Gulf nations do have some gusto and they said, you know what, forget this, we're not paying a dime. Yeah, we're gonna front that money, but we're charging back to the United States. We're charging it to the game. Wait a second, hold up. Boy, that's a run up on that national debt. Man, how does national debt just get increased by 324 billion? Oh, the Gulf nation said that they ain't paying. The Gulf nation said that they're not paying. Huh? Oh, thoughts, comments.
Well, thank you for having me on the panel, and thanks to everyone who's here. It will be interesting to see what discussions come from the reparations conference happening this week. I'm pretty certain that a lot of people are not going to be happy about it, but the thing is, they're going to have to pay. And I think that America's in a serious situation now because everybody can see their playbook now, and nobody's not going to trust them anymore. They've put too many people under the bus. And I'd like to say congratulations again, Dr. Copeland, on finishing your degree. It's been a monumental achievement, and we pray that we'll see each other soon on the continent. Shalom.
All right, shalom. Thank you, brother Asaph. Mac Freeman is saying here, he said public place space is off limit to Negroes in Texas. That's the message to black people. Yeah, we're back in the 1950s, 1960s. I think everybody knew where this was going. Just saying. Back to the New York Times article, or excuse me, Washington Post article that I had read a little bit. Trump backed down here in a real sense, Katula said. He knew that there were no good military options, so he had to get some sort of a deal. Both sides are going to claim victory. That's what the next 4 to 5 days will be about. And again, I always ask this question. How can you claim victory if you're going to be paying money, or you're going to have somebody else pay money on your behalf? You're going to still end up paying. You're going to still end up paying with a loss of political will, a loss of contracts, a loss of doing business. I'm not doing business with those folks. A loss of regional stability. Now the region is even more has more instability because they're going to now have to have austerity measures. All these folks that used to be rich on oil Now all of a sudden, they become poor. Nah, I'm sorry. I don't think Iran lost the war. That's just my personal opinion. Iran said, okay, all right, we got this, but we're now $300 billion richer. I don't want it in dollars. You better have that in gold. Oh, and you're gonna make that, and you're gonna make that. They're gonna make that check payable. Send that gold over to China. Fly those things over to China. I trust you and all, but I trust China more. Ooh, you see where this is going? Thank you, brother ASAP, for your final thought. Final thoughts. I gotta shut this on down. Gotta get some work done. Not everybody all at once. I'll just start calling on folks who would like to have their final thoughts.
No final thoughts from me.
All right. Thank you, brother Fats Nickel. Sorry putting you to the back. Go ahead, Sister Chantel, then Minister Rick. You're on mute if you're talking, Sister Chantel. She may be doing something. Well, thank you, Sister Chantel. We appreciate it. Minister Rick, final thoughts. Oh, he's in the airport. He's about to travel. Look, stay safe, Minister Rick. We ain't trying to have you being removed to a private room courtesy of TSA. We scanned your phone. We don't like what you were seeing. Oh my goodness. But you know, as brother Asaph had stated, this is a real deal. They are going after our channels just like this. You know, and again, I'm here just to present the truth. You can criticize the truth. I think that everybody has that right. You know, you shouldn't have a quote unquote thought police. That's actually wickedness at the very core. Don't question anything. Well, I'm not going to question. I'm going to pray about it. Don't pray about anything. Look, that's what the Most High has always said. Look, we're here in a time of confusion. They are going to utilize that confusion. All because we woke up. Man, we're some pesky Negroes. We woke up. We started to question. We started to talk. We started to walk. We started to move. We started to get air in our lungs. And guess how these two sticks are coming together? Uh-oh. Two sticks are coming together. Uh-oh. This is a big deal. That's why I said these next couple of weeks, these are going to be the most momentous, the most momentous time in human history. And I know a lot of our people are not really truly understanding or grasping how big of a deal this is. This is a big deal. This is the biggest deal that I think, I think to me, this is it. Because you already know once that thing goes through, because then they'll have another UN vote, and in that UN vote, oh boy, here it is. But you have to, again, as I was telling people, there's a legal framework to this. You have to let things play itself out. And you're seeing things play itself out. I'm not the one hosting the conference in Ghana and Accra. It's happening tomorrow. It's happening. The Pope said what he said. It's happening. Ghana said what they said. It's happening. And honestly, what was it about 3-4 years ago? Oh, it's never going to happen. I can't see that happening. I can't see this. And what was I saying? Things are moving in the background that you and I can't understand. Because we're not allowed. If you're in captivity, you can't really understand everything that you have here in this captivity. But when it happens and when it shows up, no one here should be like, I never saw that coming. We've been talking about this. All right, family, I got to get up on out of here. I do have to get some things done in the background. Thank you again, family, for your prayers and your support. They do go a long way. Thank you again, family. Yes, please, your prayers, because as things are moving, you already know the enemy is he's trying, but he already knows he's defeated because Yahusha sits on the throne. Yeah, peekaboo, peekaboo. I did talk about this for years. But nobody wanted to listen. Hallelujah. Or maybe a lot of people were listening, but they couldn't tell you that they were listening. You ever thought about that? All right. So with that said, family, most high willing, I'll be back on this tomorrow, and we'll have some discussions because we'll see how them reparations are about to get paid. Uh-oh. We're in some interesting times. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.